What a great introduction. Okay, so we have time is of the essence, so I think I'll just share my screen and start. Okay, so that should be good. Right, Paul's put the hands up. So I'm going to be talking about innovation, technology, and clinical legal education. That is my main interest. And so we've been running these legal tech clinics for about 5 years now. And obviously with the evolution of AI, they are starting to become really exciting and innovative. And so I want to showcase really about, in the short time that I've got, really what we do in the clinics and what type of projects that the students have engaged in. So really the focus of these legal tech clinics and now obviously incorporating AI are first of all to instill in the students this concept of access to justice, not only in a social justice sort of, community legal center context, but even in private legal practice is this concept of accessible legal service. So how technology can meet the expectations of clients, be they of a low socioeconomic level or even in a private sector. So making greater use of technology to access legal justice. Legal tech is providing accessible justice, so obviously using that legal tech to complement that access to justice. Legal service is providing the service in the most efficient way, enhancing this service. And of course, we know that legal service is really client service. So how can we facilitate client service? Legal design is a big piece of these clinics. The concept of being user-centric and having a user-centric focus, obviously designing even if it's artificial intelligence in a project or even technology, just how it's going to facilitate that client service. And clinical legal education is a niche piece of legal education where we encourage students to merge their legal knowledge with legal service. So Monash University has a clinical opportunity. Each student who would like to know how they can use their law degree in different areas and make and apply their knowledge and their substantive content are provided with opportunities to do this in various what we would call clinics. So really the focus of these clinics are learning how to provide the right services in the right places at the right time and in the right way. One of the most influential pieces for me is Richard Susskind. Many of you would know that. Tomorrow's Lawyers, this is in its 3rd edition. Susskind really looks at what are the drivers of change in legal practice, and he looks at opportunities for students when they graduate from law school, where can they go? So he talks about that in Tomorrow's Lawyers. But one of his most important drivers of change is this concept of information technology. New lawyers need to be familiar with the changes brought about by information technology and the connection between information technology and legal service. So really, I've been really influenced by Margaret Hagan, who's the design thinking process for lawyers. So how you build and how you think about your bespoke build and your bespoke way in which you're going to service clients. And I use this as the main framework for these legal technology clinics. Hagan talks about these processes: discover, synthesize, build, test, and evolve. And so the framework for these clinics is using the same sort of pathway. The students go into the discovery, so they understand the people and the system involved in the challenge area, understanding the situation and how different users respond. Synthesizing is really important for students to learn how to move the information into a more designed brief, which frames the challenge that the rest of the design process will be focused upon. And then creating the ideas, the prototypes, the wireframes, the project, answering to the business case and building the idea for the solution. And then testing, of course, putting the ideas to the test, gathering feedback and refining it towards a more finished solution. So it's a law tech clinic, so they have to research the law area, be it family law, trademarks, whatever the project is that they've been given. Of course, a lot of researching goes into this and then synthesizing it and clarifying the scope. We really work a lot in the collaboration with the private law firms or big in-house models like AGL and KPMG. They provide the students with the business case, so it's a real live issue. And then we work together with them. So that's a nice way of bringing together the legal education and the legal practice piece. So bringing those together and showcasing that. So this is examples of the projects. The first was, for example, this law firm was getting a large number of calls to a hotline, which detracted from their billable hours. So they were giving advice through a psychologist assistance hotline. Lawyers needed to answer many queries relating to requests for medical records and subpoenas. So they needed to free up the lawyers for more fee-earning tasks. So the students developed a chatbot, which was way back, like a couple of years ago, before AI was coming in, and bots were a very big way of generating that. So, and this was done with a no-code platform known as Checkbox. So the students built this chatbot in relation to answering that business case. In the trademark department, they wanted to create an efficient way in which they could gather information for the registration of trademarks. Again, the students used Checkbox, which is a no-code platform, and they developed something which they coined Landmark, which is like a triage process which they provide, where clients are provided opportunities for answering the requirements for trademark registration. And then I enable the students to present this at the firms, okay, or wherever they are producing the project. And this gives them an opportunity to consolidate that information and then put it across in a way that people are going to understand. And I think that's a very important piece, is how to sort of focus on the way in which the information is going to be generated. Last year, we started the artificial intelligence clinical placement with Landon Rogers, really starting to hone in on the AI now and working with them to develop the space. Now, that was the early stages where they were looking at opportunities for where AI tools were going to enhance the legal service. So things like excessive time, routine tasks, document review, contract analysis, and they asked the students to do some scoping. So they interviewed all the areas of work in that firm, and they consolidated a report for where they think AI is going to be important. So, for example, in the commercial department, they looked at document summary, and the corporates wanted contract drafting. So these on the left, you can see those are all the areas that AI is developing at the moment. And so that answers to that legal service piece. Then the students presented it again at the law firm, which was, a very exciting space, really new. And they got the opportunity to leverage this and consolidate the information and then supply it. One of the most exciting pieces that I've been recently involved in is this concept of the ethics around AI. The students looked at how to be aware and generate some kind of warning for the law firms as to what areas they needed to be aware of. So they wanted them to equip the lawyers, like for a quick guide on where ethics was going to be important. And of course, this was really hard to do, to consolidate this information and then develop it. And they looked at areas like bias, transparency, privacy, and accountability. I know I'm running out of time, but they then produced a report and then did a panel presentation of their work. So that's a couple of showcases that I've shown. I'll go on to also AGL, looking at the way in which AI can be used on the ground level, where they found that people who were installing, for example, solar panels, didn't have the access to the understanding about how the contracts work. So the students came up with these are the findings and these are the pain points that we need to develop, where AI can accelerate that understanding of the contract. And they were very innovative, this group. They looked at things like interactive contracts, chatbots, explainer videos, and obviously working with Copilot, which is becoming a very big interest for legal service. So they developed these interactive contracts which had pop-ups and things like that. The chatbots where they could chat to, from the ground level, they could chat to people in the offices and then generate a form, and then of course presenting it to AGL, which is exciting for them. So just a bit of reflection. The students say we experienced the transformative power of teamwork, the value of collective working together, the ability to allow us to achieve innovative solutions, how to enhance legal service and service to clients. So they really focus on that, and thinking about how they integrate AI into the legal service, how to use technology responsibly, which I thought was a fantastic reflection, and also making us even more excited for the legal profession into the future. And just ending off with Susskind again, he says these technological changes will render today's practices incomparable to future standards. And considering the significant investment students are making in their education, it's essential for them to be well informed as to the reality and prompting necessary adaptations in education. It's both a privilege and an obligation for tomorrow's lawyers to embrace and bring about change. There's been a lot of publications and articles and chapters in this piece, which I've led and worked with my colleague, Jeff Giddings. So if anybody is interested, please contact me. And this is obviously recorded, so hopefully this slides will be available. Thanks, Paul.